Hello and welcome to the Sewing Studio. We've had lots of our viewers request a tutorial on how to make an Oxford flap on a cushion or a pillow. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So I've got one here that I've made. Now this one, the cushion pad in it is probably a little bit too big, or it needs to be sat on and squished a little bit. But you get the idea that you have your centre, which is the cushion, and then you have this lovely decorative flap round the edge. So I'm going to show you how to do that. This fabric is a panel called Moda Glass, and I think it's in the shop. If it's not in the shop now, it's coming very soon, and it's really, really pretty. So you get 4 of these on a panel, and then you've got all the coordinating fabrics as well. On the back of this one, I've used Moda Grunge, and that's the back of the cushion and the back of the flaps as well. So how do we do this? I've prepared this one. So all I've done is I've cut the panel, which is this one here. I've cut that panel and I've framed it with some of the minty green that's in the range, and then I've done these cornerstones with some of the other colours. I've made it into a kind of quilt sandwich. So I've got calico on the back, and this is really, really lovely soft calico, and I've got wadding in the middle there, so you can see that it's sandwiched together. So I've made that into, as I say, a quilt sandwich. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 flaps on the back of this so that it's an envelope back. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of this mint green grunge and I've put a piece of calico on it. I've machined along there, turned it over, and I've pressed it. So I now need to do another one of these. When you're doing an envelope back, you need one piece longer than the other so that it actually comes down and covers your other edge of the cushion. So I'm going to show you how to make sure you get that the right way round in a moment. So I'm just going over to the machine and I'm going to join these 2 together so I've got a nice lined piece on the back. Before I go to the sewing machine, if you like what we do, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. So I've got a 1/4 inch foot on my machine, and I'm just going to join this right sides together, a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to press this, so press along the seam line, and then I'm going to press these very carefully so that I've got just a tiny little bit of the green showing like that, so I can make sure that the calico is well and truly on the inside. So the next job I need to do is just trim away, because I've got that little fold here. I just need to trim away this little bit of calico that's sticking out a little bit. And so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to make our envelope back. So I'm just going to turn this around the right way so it's facing me. So the flap that you want, that's the longest one, you want that on the outside. So when you're doing this, it has to be the one on the inside because we're working in reverse. So this one's the longer one. So that's going to tuck down inside behind this one. So I have got my all my raw edges, and I've got my folds, my nice neat edges coming down into the centre. And as I say, the top one needs to be tucked inside the other one for now. So I'm going to just go and put my walking foot on, because I'm actually sewing through so many layers of fabric and the wadding. You'll get a much better result with your walking foot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew all the way around. When I get to this bit here, I just do a backwards forward stitch to lock it, to give it a bit more strength there. I'm going to go all the way round, and then I've got this flap to turn it round the right way. So I'm just going off to put my walking foot on the sewing machine now. So I've got my walking foot on, and I'm going to do bigger than 1/4 inch, just because I've got so much bulk going on here. When I come to turn it round the right way, I don't want to have missed anywhere with my stitching. So that's why I'm going slightly bigger. So somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch. And now as I come to the end that's open, I'm going to go forwards and back just to give it a little bit more strength on that seam. Quite like this handy little pin cushion. So when I've got my pins like that, this metallic pin cushion picks up all my pins. I love it. It's one of those really handy little gadgets. And we sell that in the shop too. So I'm just going to trim the corner here very carefully. I'm going to trim back the fabric. So I'm taking the corner off. I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. And this just helps, because we've got some wadding, this just helps get rid of that bulk so we get a better shape on our corner. So now I'm going to use the envelope back to turn the whole thing through. And this is what I like to call my ta-da moment, when I make sure that I've got the longest flap on the outside, because I have done it many times and got it the wrong way round. So I'm always happy when that happens. And so there is the front of the cushion, and we're going to make the Oxford flap by quilting along here to start with. So this is going to be the shape of our cushion. So anything that you're making, even if you're doing it without a panel or a picture like I've got here, if you've done lots of different patchwork, decide where you want your cushion to start and finish. So for me, it's here. So if you just look at the one, I've taken the cushion pad out so you can see it better. So if you just look at this one, I've quilted through all of the layers here. And so that is actually my cushion shape, this oblong here. And then I've just quilted outwards. So I'm going to the iron now to give it a press so I can make it a little bit more even. And I'm probably just going to poke the corners through a little bit better than they are. So I'm just going to do that. And now, again, with my walking foot on, I'm going to quilt around the edge of the cushion and then gradually work out. And what I would recommend that you do is work out how you want your quilting to go. So for example, on this one, I haven't quilted my cornerstones. I've left those as they are, and I've just quilted lines in between the cornerstones following the shape of the cushion. But you could do any kind of design here. It doesn't have to be straight lines. You could do 1 or 2 lines. You could do it closer together. You could do a fancy stitch, a decorative stitch. The choice is yours. So I'm just going to do some straight lines, and I just use the edge of the foot as my guide. So I'll show you that now over on the machine. So first of all, I'm just following the line that is the shape of my cushion. Now it may be that you're happy with that and you just want to pop a cushion in the back and you just want to have this bit as your Oxford flap. But I quite like it with the more detailed quilting. And what I'm going to say is a walking foot is an absolute must for this because you've got so many layers of fabric. And if you attempt this with a normal presser foot, it isn't going to give you the same results. You're going to get puckers and it's going to move. So a walking foot is an absolute must if you're going to quilt all the way around the edge. So I'm just going to do a couple more rows on this one to just show you how it's going to turn out. I'm probably just going to go down one side for the purpose of today, but I'm just going to do a couple more lines just so you can see how that turns out. So you can see that I've gone all the way down one side and I'm just going to carry on round and sew the others so that it looks like this one. And you can see the difference, how puffed up this is and how flat this is. Once it's quilted, it does give a nicer finish because it flattens this. So I'm going to carry on, and so I'll end up with a pair of cushions, which I think are lovely. I really like these flaps. I think they can make an ordinary cushion look really special. So I hope I've inspired you today. As always, have fun, and I look forward to seeing you next time here in the sewing studio.